Thank you for coming. So I'm really impressed how many people are here. It's the last day. It's already lunchtime and it's the day after the celebration night. So great to have you here. My name is Lisa Sanders, and today we will talk about the insights into SAP Cloud ALM's delivered and upcoming functionalities for customers in regulated environments and focused build. So we have two heavy topics to deal with today. So let's just get started because we have lots of content to share. So today we will talk about focus build, like way of working, how we can bring this into Cloud ALM, what we delivered in the recent months, and what is planned short and in the long term. I will show you an outlook and also a roadmap. And the second part of the presentation will be the how did Michael call the moonshot? So this will be the how we can make Cloud ALM ready also for regulated customers. We will look into market challenges, operational and technical function or scope, and also functional requirements that are needed for end users. And I also prepared some recommendations and next steps for you. So who did join this presentation already last year? Can you remember? Frank Kühn and I, we gave a comparable presentation last year. Okay, great. So you might remember that we found 4 clusters in which we try to define and bring in functionality for a focused build-like way of working into Cloud ALM. And we try to be inspired by focused build. We do not copy just everything over, but we use this as inspiration and just take over what was really valuable and helpful. And there was a lot. So, focused build for SAP Solution Manager supports customers with a seamless tool-supported end-to-end requirements to deploy process. And the unique selling point comes from the strong governance, which is delivered by automation steps and by constraints, quality constraints within the complete process and quality checks. And we detected those 4 main pillars which are structuring this way of working. It's a stricter process governance. So we want to bring into Cloud ALM a more constrained workflow. And here our challenge is how can we provide a flexible way of working for these lightweight cloud customers, and how can we bring in a more constrained and more governed process for customers, for bigger projects who are implementing S4 Private Cloud Edition, for example. And we also know that we should bring a stricter change control process into Cloud ALM, including a correction process that is needed. And solution documentation needs to be even better integrated into the process, including storage, KPIs, and so on. Last but not least, we want improve also the quality assurance functionalities for project, solution, and also release quality. And we will dive, so as we have 2 big topics today, I will just show you the highlights. I prepared a summary for you, what we delivered and what is planned in those 4 clusters, let's say. So this is why you see in the header, the highlights, let's say. So we have a new status for requirements and features. It's called successfully tested. And we have feature constraints as a standard constraint for the features that in the status successfully tested and ready for production, you can no longer create, assign, or unassigned transports. So as soon as the feature is in these statuses, there are no changes allowed anymore. You can subscribe features to our external API to get notified, maybe via Teams or Jira, Slack, wherever, to get notified about any changes concerning our features. And we have our workflow API for the requirements approval. And we have also a little highlight today. So Matthias volunteered from Tricentis to show the results of the POC, where we connected the requirements approval API to Tricentis Vera as external workflow engine. so that you can enable a 4 or 6 or 8i principle, including an electronic signature to approve your requirements. So thank you, Matthias. You want to go?
So, thank you very much, Lisa. Also, warm welcome from my end. So I hope that this is not a complete repeat for some of you, because I've shown a little bit of this already in the presentation where Xavier Picard presented the workflow API, but I'll give it a different spin today. So, and we will look at a few different things. So what I would like to show you now, according to the strict governance that Lisa has talked about, you know, it's quite important in the GXP world that you apply this strict governance and have actually, you know, peer reviews and multi-stage approval on different steps of the ALM process. Requirements are one of those things where this is required, but obviously other elements like test cases, test results, test plans, perhaps processes or documentation are also elements where a strict governance process and a review and multi-stage approval might be a relevant thing. Today, we will focus on requirements, and what I would like to show you really quick is that, this is coming through, that basically what I did is there is a little setup task, right? So we do in the project setup, we have now the ability to create subscriptions for different ALM entities and elements, and one of them is requirements. And what I have configured here is there is a Vera subscription that essentially does a mapping between between certain fields of the requirements entity from Cloud ALM to Tricentis Vera. You will see later in the integration, a second, so this is a bit better, what these fields are. And let me quickly create a requirement for you so you can see this in action. So if I create a new requirement, and I'm calling this demo requirement, and this time I'm not in the mood to describe. And that's what I'm going to submit. So this is probably the worst example of a requirement that you would route for an approval and get a peer review of. But we will go with it anyway. And if I now route this for approval, which is this newly introduced capability for strict governance, this subscription will now trigger basically this workflow that sends this to Tricentis Vera. And we can also see that we have a little status change up here, that this requirement has now been routed for approval. I'm already logged in Tricentis Vera, and Tricentis Vera is essentially a approval portal for different user roles, right? So I could be an auditor, I could be a manager, it could be a QA person, or just a peer to this requirements author. And here I get a list of different approvals that are due for me to approve. So this could be different entities. This could, you know, some of these approvals could be related to requirements. Other approvals could be related to test cases or documents. So it's basically a to-do list for me of things I have to review and ultimately approve or reject. So I'm now logged in as a peer, and I see now 2 entries for this sample requirement. I'll just pick one. The reason why I see 2 entries is, and of course, we are in a timeout here, but it's not a problem. So it is the user JBell. And so my demo requirement is 2 entries, because what is configured here in the approval route is that this is a 4i principal approval. So that means 2 people have to approve it, and the 2 people that need to approve it are of the same role or authority, right? So classical 4i principal peer review, and I can now simply approve this and apply my signature to it. And now I'm done with that. So I'm quickly logging out with this user, and we assume now I'm a different person on a different machine. So I would log now in as JBoss, and would again see an entry for this demo requirement. And I could also approve this now. I see that my peer already approved it. And actually, I'm also not in the mood to provide any description, so I'm fine with that. I'm going to approve it. The next person coming in, now this is not a 4i principle, this is now, could be a supervisory approval, could be a different person that's approving this. We will go with Jquel now. And Jquel is a very responsible quality person or simply a manager and will say, what the hell are you guys doing? You're not even providing a description, I'm actually rejecting this. And now I can say, do a better job at describing. And I'm going to reject this. And what's now going to happen is, once we did this, this is now rejected, going back to Cloud ALM. Once I refresh it, I'm now done with my approval procedure, right? This could be a lengthy procedure. Sometimes we have 8 different approval levels, or depending on how the approval process is designed in your organization, but you end up with the rejection status on this requirement, and now you would have to go back and do it all over and specify it more clearly. Good. So that concludes the little demo.
Wonderful.
And I guess I hand it back over to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Matthias.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we also put some slides in for you. I also promised that we do not only talk about what was delivered, but also what is planned. So on our shortlist is requirements, making the requirements even more constrained also in the standard. So here, for example, the description field will shortly be locked after such an approval. Today it's still open, and we understand that this is not acceptable. So that is on our shortlist. Test case constraints, we are working on that a test case cannot set be to pass when defects are open, which are connected to this test case. So we will try to bring in constraints wherever it's useful, also already in the standard behavior. And, or for example, feature constraints that ready for production cannot be set when transports are not yet in the import queue of the production system, for example. The workflow API for features is on the list. And you see here also an example how we want to make it also kind of configurable if you want to work in a constrained way or not, but I will come to that in a second. Second cluster, let's say, is a stricter change control. Here we changed some behavior, so you can have a direct connection between your custom-owned CTMS instance to your Cloud ALM. So in the beginning, you always got a new CTMS instance when you requested your Cloud ALM tenant. Now you can reuse your existing one or subscribe for a new one and just reuse the setup you have already done in your instance. Or the quality approval is now available for SAP S/4HANA Public Cloud, and if this option is turned on, you can decide if you want to give this quality approval in the import collection app in your S4 tenant, or if you want to set this QA approval via the feature action approve for production. Yeah, this is possible now. You might have seen already that in the system groups, you are now also eligible to assign a pre-production system in the system groups, and we have our transport analysis app. This is the first time where we provide to you an option to report on transport level. And what could be like really useful here. Okay, what is this? Can we switch that? No. Now we see it. So what is really nice that you can here not see the analysis from the feature level, but you see from the transport level. For example, you can check how many transports are not yet assigned to a feature. So you might to connect those free-floating transport now to features so that you have an end-to-end traceability. Yeah, just as one example. So what is planned now in addition? So we are heavily waiting for test case and defect connection to features. We are also looking into concepts for phases for releases, that you can, for example, have a test phase for your release, that you can no longer create transports, but defect corrections, for example, that we put in constraints for those phases for releases. Check frameworks, we also know that this is highly demand for downgrade protection, cross-reference checks, that you get those results of those checks on the feature level available. Retrofit for your N+1 landscape is needed, cross-system object log, and also deployment scheduler is on our list. So here you see that you see in a labs preview that we are working also on automation and scheduling transport, so that you do not no longer do all the import tasks manually. And so for solution documentation, we also worked on more on better usability and to make also the assignment and relations of object easier, so you can create documents now in the solution process viewer at any process entity. We have also now the role of the process hierarchy author, so not every project member can now create or edit or even delete hierarchy nodes. This is also important. And we also have now in our cross-project analysis also the documentation status is available. My colleague Axel just shared also the news that we have an application library now. We have the Enable Now API, so that you can exchange enablement content, training content with Enable Now and Cloud ALM. And we have also like a process hierarchy assignment app. And let me check if that works. Oh, you can screen here. So you see here in the process hierarchy assignment app that, for example, you can now assign solution processes, requirements. Here you see in the process hierarchy assignment app that you can assign solution processes, requirements, tasks, and documents, and soon even more entities to your process hierarchy nodes. And I also prepared here a little outlook for you. Yeah, so you see here also a mock-up that also the testing entities and also defects are planned to be included in the process hierarchy assignment app. And you have heard from Sinje already in the last days that the documentation and the documents application is planned to be extended for document templates, DMS integration, custom document types are planned, history versioning, cross-project documentation is planned. And what is also interesting is that the process constraints are planned, that archived processes can no longer be put into scope. Yeah, so we try to also bring here more data quality into a standard behavior. Libraries are planned for configuration, solution activity, development, interface library, and so on. And last but not least, the quality assurance highlights. So you can now assign a priority and test case owner to a test case. We have the application link in the manual test cases, so you can more easily jump from the test steps into the application where the actual testing takes place. We have a tester assignment in the test plans, a defect creation and test action, and we also have the testing entities in the cross-project analysis. And we have recommendations for data consistencies. So that is a little bit hidden. Yeah. So if you scroll down on the overview page to the very bottom, there is a recommendation app where you now also get recommendations that, for example, when requirements, all tasks are done, test cases are passed, you get a nice recommendation that those requirements can be set to confirmed. Yeah? So we do this analysis and preparation already for you. And our plan is also here to make this information more prominent, and we are working on a let's so-called quality assurance dashboard to gather all this quality information in such an application. And let me give you a short, let me see if that works. Wonderful. So you see here that we also now have a quality gate reporting. And you will see here that, for example, we have this quality gate accepted, although there is still one checklist item not yet checked. Yeah, so why is that the case? Because we not yet. Because we are working also on bringing more constraints into the quality gate management. Yeah? So you see here, maybe it's a little bit too small, but you will get a warning soon that you cannot set a quality gate to accept it or conditionally accept it when there is an item not checked yet. Yeah? So there are certain behaviors in the tool where we see that they could be improved and could be more constrained, and we want to build quality checks in the standard behavior. Furthermore, on the roadmap, test sequence and test plans, test plan copy, solution activity relation to test cases, test evidence, more roles for the testing area, and the quality assurance dashboard. I already outlined that we are working on that, and so I also promised to give you a short outlook. So we plan that in the project setup, you can decide if you want to have your project in a more open, flexible way, or if you want to work in a more constrained way. So there will be, or this is currently the planning, that you will have in the project setup maybe a tab which is called constraints, and you can switch on the constrained way of working when you prepare your project. So you can decide if you want to stay flexible or if you want even more constraints in addition to those we are currently planning to bring in the standard. And we have a usability test available, so if you're interested, just let me know. You can participate in that because we want your feedback if the warnings are understandable. And so there, I would like to invite you just to get in touch with us and give us feedback. And here's also the roadmap. So, but you have seen already in the last days the roadmaps of my colleagues. So this is kind of a summary, the highlights. I picked and choose those topics which contribute to a focused build-like way of working and put them here into a roadmap. And with that, we can come to the second and use the remaining 15 minutes for Cloud ALM in regulated environments. Who of you is already in my customer community and joined my customer roundtable? Great. Wonderful. So won't be much new information for you, but anyways, sometimes it's also good to hear it a second time. So what are the current market challenges? So we see a trend towards more hybrid system landscapes. And so for on-premise systems, all system validation, operation, installation, qualification was all responsibilities on customer side. If you use platform as a service, software as a service, it's no longer the case. So you need to trust your software vendor for certain activities. And we also understood it's not only about the initial validation when you implement a complete new software, but it's also a validation of continuous changes, and there needs to be done a validation during periodic reviews. Yeah, and market or numbers outline that in case you have a mature ILM and a mature change management process in place, then it's only 20 to 30% effort on top of your implementation effort. If you don't have a proper ALM process in place, it's even more and even higher. Yeah, and teams spend kind of 20% of their time on testing and 80% on documentation. And this is quite risky. It should be the other way around. Yeah, and this is why we tackle that topic, and this is why we want to, with Cloud ALM, we want to bring auditability and compliance by design into these processes. We want to harmonize and a redundancy-free process between quality assurance and IT, and reuse whatever is possible, to deliver from the implementation project into the validation, and reduce redundancies here, and shift from a paper-based process to a more document and item-based process. And we delved into customer requirements, and we separate them into operational and technical requirements, and also functional requirements. And as you might have already heard, there is a BTP compliance white paper, and as Cloud ALM is built on BTP, we also wrote a white paper on top on the BTP compliance white paper. This is out now. You see the link in our event app, and it's also included in my slides. And the tenant extension, a delayed production landscape, and EU access and sovereign cloud are also requirements we understood on this operational and technical side. And on the functional side, we understood that there are certain white spots in our tool, and electronic signature, versioning, unique IDs, segregation of duties, and GXP relevant standard attributes, and more. I'll come to that in a minute. And we also see a need to integrate Cloud ALM into validation tools. So here is the white paper, and this is the table of content, just as an example. And please feel free to take a look into it. Give us feedback if there is something not clear enough, if there is a chapter missing from your perspective, just let me know. And my colleague Marco Bertolini was also here yesterday in our booth session. And just let us know if you would like to see more, or maybe something in a different way. Then we are definitely open for that. It's the first release, so we put in all the information that we thought could be relevant for you, and all information that we were allowed to share. And so EU access is also planned for Q4. So if you have EU access bought for or subscribed EU access for SAP product, when you request your Cloud ALM tenant, then EU access will be then an option for you when you select the data center for the provisioning of your Cloud ALM tenant. And that ensures that your personal data is, or the data retention is in the EU, and also GDPR-related data is only touched by personnel and employees in Europe. And our tenant extension is also already available. My colleague Nicolas presented that, and he delivered that. So if you want an additional tenant, you can get in touch with the salesperson responsible for you. They find it on the price list, and you can then consume an additional tenant. You will get 8 GB of HANA memory storage in addition. You will get 8 GB outbound API transfer per calendar month in addition. And so you can request as many tenants as you want, and share those storage across the tenants. So it's not focused on one tenant, but you can share it in between of the tenants. You can model different org units, and use them for training purposes, for example, for data separation according to your needs. And you might remember that we showed also, that were the topics from the operational and technical side. And I also want to share with you an update on the functional side. So you might remember that we already showed that last year that there are topics we are currently working on. And I would like to share with you that what is the current status. Yeah, so for electronic or digital signature, we are currently evaluating what could be an option. So we are currently not planning that Cloud ALM will develop an electronic signature ourselves. So we're currently discussing if there could be a central service within SAP, because so many products, we see the potential for reuse in additional products within SAP. For PDF export, we did already a POC for the traceability metrics, for example, so that you can export data from there. So that is currently on the way. We also understood for unique IDs and traceability that we should need to do some adaptations, and unique IDs for test cases, for example. Or we also understood that it could be confusing that requirements and tasks and user stories, the unique IDs start with a 3. So for us, it's kind of technically the same entity, but for the end users, not. So we understand that there is kind of some migration effort needed. Tags and custom attributes. Yeah, tags are quite mature, but we also know that there are some authorization needs to be added to the usage of the tags. And for custom attributes, we are currently discussing with our architects how something like this could be implemented. The segregation of duty, we already have a concept, and I'm sure we are soon ready to share something also in our community. So if you have a feedback agreement, we are allowed to share also concepts and future mock-ups. So I'm confident that soon we can share something in the community. Test evidence is already on the roadmap, and we have also a blocker out for test evidence for the community, so that where Rainer then will share his plans on that. Roles and authorizations, we also have a concept. For versioning, we have a concept and also usability test available. So if you are interested in testing the behavior and see if that's intuitive for you, just let me know. GXP relevant standard attributes, we also collected those and have a concept available. Risk management, we are working on a concept. Customer specific workflows are already on the roadmap, as you have heard. So there our plan is that we have these workflows not only for the requirement approval, but also for features, for test cases, test plans, for documents, for processes, and so on. And constraints, as you have seen earlier in the focus build chapter, that is also something which is on the roadmap, and I hope that we will get this standard constraints soon, and also the constraint switch. All right, and here summarized all these topics, summarized in our roadmap. So you see, it will take a while until Cloud ALM will deliver all these functionalities, until we are like really GXP capable and can fully support customers in regulated environments. So here our, let's say, midterm strategy is that we definitely need also an integration to validation tools to support us in those on this journey. And during the recent months, we talked to many customers and partners, and I just count yesterday is now 85 people in the customer community, so it's really amazing. And during those conversations and also at DSAG, we saw 3 major integration scenarios, which is on the one hand, workflow integration into workflow engine, and we have seen the first example with Tricentis Vera for the requirements approval, for general project approvals and approval roads, or maybe also bringing in an electronic signature. We see a potential for an integration of Cloud ALM into validation tools, to bring in industry content, to bring in validation accelerators, validation intelligence, and also workflows for QA approvals for exactly those validation plans, standard operating procedures, the validation report, risk assessments, and so on. And last but not least, to complement this setup, if you want to keep your core clean, you might want to build extension on BTP standard services. So you will test your application, but who will test the standard service? Yeah, so you need to provide your auditor proof that you do risk mitigation when you reuse those services. And you can prove that when you, for example, there are partner offerings in the market for testing as a service and continuous cloud service qualification, kind of. Yeah, so to complete the setup. And the plan is that Cloud ALM is the orchestration platform, and you extend Cloud ALM according to your needs. And during workshops, we identified not only these integration points, but we also saw required functionality that is needed to enable this setup. Yeah, so we need validation record types. So Sinje put on her roadmap that that she will work on custom document types, which would be perfect, because then you could also put your validation document types into Cloud ALM. The tags, we need an authorization concept, tags on system groups, process flow, process steps, and so on, that we know we need more workflows, as already mentioned. And what was also interesting, that customers or partners might also export the quality gates and handle them in an external system, so that we also heard. And process hierarchy could be also interesting, to not only load the process hierarchy from an external system into Cloud ALM, but also get it out and use the process hierarchy structure for the documentation in your validation tool. And PDF export for test execution analysis, final project reporting, and so on, that we learned. Project independent requirements, also an important topic, and definitely the history for custom processes, documents, test case preparation, test plans, the process list view. So that are also topics that we need to provide, so that we get a proper end-to-end tool chain, not only for implementation but also for validation. And I've also prepared some next steps or recommendation for you. So if you're interested, and if you are not yet in the community, then you can really take part. You can get insights into planned functionality. We show mock-ups and you can really make an impact. Yeah? So you can influence the solution, give us feedback if this is what you need, or is it understandable, is it intuitive? You can collaborate, as said, so it's no longer 50, but it's 85 people you can collaborate with, other people from regulated customers and companies, and use this as exchange platform for best practices. And we work in a confidential way, because we work under a feedback agreement, which saves the intellectual property, so that we are allowed to talk about future functionality, and you are allowed to share your ideas in a safe way. And if you have not yet done so, we can recommend to do the readiness check for Cloud ALM if you are using Solution Manager, to get a first idea which are the main use cases you use the Solution Manager for, and which could be maybe the first use cases which you move to Cloud ALM. You can request the tenant in case you have an entitlement. Just put your hands on, create an example project which you can archive later, just to get in touch and the look and understand the look and feel of the product. And you can analyze if there is maybe a non-validated use case where you could use Cloud ALM already for. As said, so you can join the customer community, and here you see that we have the test evidence rollout session in November, we have the deletion concept roll-in session in October, and we also have with one of our partners, DHC, where they will present in mocked integration scenario how their validation tool could interlink, how this interlinkage could work with Cloud ALM. And you can take a look at it and give feedback. Last but not least, we are also working on bringing the DSAG Arbeitskreis Life Science and join them with the Arbeitskreis ILM. And here we will join a working group. Oh, thank you. Fresh news. In November 27th, there will be the constitutional meeting, so that this working group will be found, where we bring the expertise from ALM together with the expertise from life science industries, to work on best practices for ALM in regulated environments. And Sebastian Rode from Roche will lead this working group, and you're heartily invited to join this group. This is, don't forget to rate this session. And now we're ready for Q&A. And yeah, thank you for listening. Any questions? I hear you well, so I can repeat your question.
Unfortunately, there was no slide about the delayed landscape, but I've got a question. Will this be this delayed landscape? Will this be later on the standard landscape, or is it something to opt in if you need it?
Currently, we discussed that it's kind of an extra offering, yeah, so which you need to pay for, yeah. And we are also discussing how a bundling for regulated customer could look like, to bundle in certain functionalities and this tenant, for example, but that are commercial topics where we first need to see how we will deliver this, how we can really change our processes in the operations area before we talk about the commercial topics. So, but yeah, we definitely need to discuss how we commercialize that, and I don't think that this will be the standard.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah, we've talked about that topic a lot in the recent days. So yeah, just use the chance now, or you can always get in touch with me. You find my email address in the slides. And yeah, many of you are already in the community, so we will have the next call scheduled. Yeah, if no further questions, thank you for joining, thank you for listening, and looking forward to see you soon.